a songwriter for much of like the media you might know, especially when it comes to Christmas songs, as well as an artist herself. And we're so happy to have you. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Today has just been like I have been in media tech hell, and nothing was going right. And then I got the email about this interview, so I'm stoked to be here. This is the best part of my day.
Yeah, we were really happy to have you because it was so last minute, and we were like, hopefully she can come, and
That's it.
and she's here. So I did want to start about well, you were coming out with some projects, Frankenstein Legacy, right? The Recipe Files and Sweet Summer Love, as well as many others. But I want to talk about your own personal work. So, how did you start your music career? Was it something you were into since you were like a child?
I always was making up songs in my head, always as a little girl. So that was always a part of me, and it's continued on until this day. So it's always been something that I've always done.
At what age did you decide to pick up the guitar?
That didn't happen until about high school. I took some classes, and that's when I started guitar.
Was it the only instrument that called to you at the time? Because it's a very songwriter instrument, right? It's either piano or guitar, but something about the guitar.
Well, I started off on piano, and piano was one of the things that I should be able to play really, really well because I had a ton of lessons, but somehow it just didn't resonate with me. But when I picked up the guitar, that just felt a whole lot better, and so it's been guitar ever since.
Yeah. So when you picked it up, did you start writing songs right away, or did you just want to learn covers?
You know, I did a little bit of each. It just kind of like a little speckle type thing each. I just did a little bit of this. I was playing things like House of the Rising Sun. I think that was the first song I learned. That dates me, but there we go.
Oh, wow. Okay, so what were some of the musical influences you had growing up?
Well, definitely the Carpenters. I love the Carpenters. Joni Mitchell, obviously the Beatles. But my mom didn't really let us listen to much rock and roll. So I was really listening to a lot of musicals. So like My Fair Lady, Camelot, West Side Story. So, and I think sometimes that comes through too. When I started writing more for film and television, I had a really cinematic sense of things. So, yeah.
Did singing come with playing guitar? Did that come first?
Always sang, yeah. Singing, I would say, came first. Yeah. And then the guitar was just sort of a means to an end.
Did you do any lessons, or was it just along with the songwriting, you just come to the practice?
I've had lessons on everything for years and years and years, vocal lessons, everything. Yeah.
Was there like a genre that called to you? Did you like doing opera, or is it just musical theater, or did you do pop, or venture into that rebellious rock?
Mostly I was, in fact, I was always very eclectic about what I would do. I would say I was singer-songwriter, sort of adult contemporary eclectics, what I always used to label myself as being, because I have a real wide range of things that I like to write. And even though I don't do completely contemporary pop, if you want something that's a Bruno Mars, I can do that. If you want something that's 90s R&B or whatever, or folk, whatever, just a lot of things called to me. But it's always been about the song for me. It's always about a song that you can have without any instrumentation at all or very little. To me, that's a sign of a great song, that it just stands on its own.
Yeah, they do say song is king, right?
Right.
It's always, okay, so if you were to describe yourself as an artist, would you say you lean towards a genre more?
Well, when I was doing my touring, so I used to tour from San Diego to Seattle. I just this year replaced my 94 Honda Accord that has 466,000 miles on it with the original clutch. So that was all me driving, throwing the PA in the back of the car. And back then you could play a bunch of Borders books and music, you could do colleges, you could do all these things. So I wasn't getting rich, but I was playing. And I put out, I think, 6 independent, CDs, etc. And then later on started to venture forth more into the film and TV. And then in October of 2020, I made that decision to do what they call sync music, which is placing music in media and specialize in Christmas songs and custom songs for film and television.
Oh, that's really cool. I want to get back to that in a little bit. But during that time when you were, driving around and playing, did you do it as a solo artist? Did you do it as a band?
Mostly as a solo artist, but I had several people that I worked with. One was an incredible cello player called Brian Asher, and another one was an amazing percussionist called Dwayne Roquet. So sometimes we were a trio, and sometimes I was with one or the other of them. But most of it, the majority of it was by myself. It was solo, and I used to have a 4-hour rule. I used to say, okay, I can drive for 4 hours, set the PA up, and play for 4 hours. And I have no idea how I used to do that. I guess I was younger.
Yeah, for years and years.
Yeah, long time did that.
Oh, okay. So how did this come about, writing, music and lyrics for film projects? What was the first?
Well, the first thing was I took, so COVID came, all my, every gig, everything was gone, right? And then there was this class called Song to Sync by a lady named Michelle Weiss Maslin, who has had extensive experience and is an expert. And I thought, you know what? I had just gotten out of a situation with a collaborator that really screwed me over, and I was like, okay, I'm done, no more music, I'm done. And then I saw the class and I said, oh, you know what? Maybe just one more push. But it wasn't, the class wasn't cheap. I said, I can't afford that. But then we got the money for the COVID money, like the $1,200. So I only needed to come up with a couple $100 more. So then I took the class, and the class changed my life. And I took a look at this whole thing, and I go, okay, I can do this. It's gonna be a lot of work. I didn't know how much work it was gonna be, but I can do this. So October 2020, I started making my calls, and that's where it's gone from there.
Do you think you tend to work with the same people over and over, or are you always looking to collaborate with different artists? Are you making calls? Is it like with the same studio?
I do a lot of working directly with directors and producers on projects, which is leaning into more and more custom work. But I always start off with the Christmas thing, because with the Christmas thing, you get your foot in there and then they like you, and then it's like, well, what else do you have? What else can you do? And that's how the Frankenstein came to happen. We'll talk more about that later. But as far as collaborating, creating the music, there's a producer that I love. His name is David Vasquez over at Moonlight Studios. And what's interesting is when I first came here in 1990, I worked with him briefly. And then I didn't work with him again. And then when I was starting to get back into this, I said to a friend of mine, who would you recommend? She goes, well, what about David? I go, they're still there? She goes, yeah. And it's just been kismet. He's just amazing. So I kind of went back to him. But as far as singers go, I always kind of cast for the piece. Like a lot of these are happy, happy, joy, joy. They want, you want a nice, light, little female voice, which is not me. So I've been finding a really great stable of singers. So I just kind of cast things. And then David does most of the production. And then sometimes I bring in a violin player or somebody else on top of that.
Yeah. Do the directors that you tend to work with and the producers give you full control about who you cast, or do they say, oh, maybe go with this direction, or are they just like, we need a Christmas song, you're on it?
Most of the time, it's sort of like I sit there and go, okay, here's my four most placed, and if you want my complete catalog, I let them what they call needle drop. So they go through. So, because the thing is, I'm always going in blind. All I know is that it's a Christmas movie and it's a rom-com, which is romantic comedy. So then I'm calling them, and it's really, because that's the whole thing with film and television, it's about the fit. So I learned really early on, don't be concerned if you do or don't get the project, because they're always going to do another one. And you don't know. All you know is that if they listen to the song and it resonated with them, they're going to be able to put it against the scene, and that's how it's going to work. So,
So
it's at this point, some of the custom songs I've had input, but as far as like singers or whatever like that, those are usually already done when they see them.
oh wow.
Yeah.
So in terms of Christmas music, what does it take to make a great Christmas song?
Well, to me, the most important thing is it's gotta, like right off the bat, it's gotta be, are you ready to fall in love this Christmas, right? Just gotta like come right out at you, immediately happy, happy, joy, joy, very catchy, and gotta have a lot of bells in there. And the productions, what I do is a little bit of retro, but also classic Christmas underneath that. So, but you definitely want something catchy, you definitely want something right away that's gonna lock onto people, and like I said, vocals are very important. It's gotta resonate.
Yeah. So you mentioned you worked with a producer, but are you on the recordings yourself sometimes? Because you did tell me earlier that you do sing in some of the projects yourself, not just cast other actors.
Well, yeah, in fact, I guess we'll tell the Frankenstein story now.
Yeah,
Okay, so there's a company called M&M, and they're in the UK, and I put 4 of my songs in a Christmas movie that came out this year called Put the Holiday In. And then she and I had a Zoom, and we really loved each other. We were on a Zoom from the UK for 4 hours. And I said, what else are you working on? And she says, I'm working on a time period piece. I go, oh, tell me about that. She goes, 18th century, Frankenstein, and it's a woman who's at the helm this time. And the more she told me about it, I said, I love that. She says, I need a song for that. She says, I need it to be sad. I need it to be tragic, lost love. I'm like, that's my wheelhouse. That's what I really do, right? So I said, okay. She says, and I think you should sing it. I said, you know what? It might be right for me. I'm gonna sing it. If you like my voice, great. If you don't, we'll figure something else out. So the great thing about that song was, what I did is I did my homework. That's the most important thing, is you do your homework. So I reread the original Mary Shelley, and then the script, which was a beautiful script, had starting 100 years later. So they are supposing that Frankenstein's diary gets sold to this woman, and she's a surgeon, not a certified surgeon, because women couldn't go to school back then, but her husband's very ill and she wants to save him. So, she figures out how to reanimate dead flesh, and he dies, but she brings him back, and the rest is for the story. But the main thing about it is I said, this was a woman, because I really identified with the character, this is a woman that no matter what she does, she's gonna lose. She's not gonna win, she's not gonna bring him able to bring her husband back, she's whatever. So when I wrote the song, to me, my favorite line in the song that says it all is the line that says, if love can conquer all, where's my victory? So I went in and I ran through it once, and I looked at David and I said, okay, let's go. He goes, no. I go, what do you mean no? He goes, you did it. What do you mean? I said, what do you mean I did it? He said, that was the take. I go, it can't be the take. He goes, yeah, it was the take. You hadn't had your coffee, you're a little rough, but it was the take. And sure enough, that was the take, that's what we used. And then last minute, I wanted to put the violin on. I said to her, tell me when you're ready, I can put the violin on. And then, instead of giving me any leeway, it's like, well, we need it now. Can you have it in 2 days? And so I got this violinist, he put an amazing violin on it, and the song's gorgeous. And the movie's gonna come out in 2024.
Oh, that's really exciting.
But, yeah.
Do you know what month?
I don't know yet. Yeah, they're putting out all the trailers and stuff now. So, and I think there should be a limited US release, but we'll see.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
We'll look out for that. Have you ever submitted a project with your voice on it and didn't tell them it was you?
Well, yeah, in fact, I did, that's what I did today.
Yeah? Oh, really? You're like this great singer?
Yeah,
Boom.
or I'll say to them, I said, this is the scratch vocal, whatever, I can get another singer, you let me know, but yeah.
That's
But this,
really,
yeah.
They know it's you now, you
Yeah,
worked with you.
but like I said, I think the thing that's interesting is, because all those years as an artist that used, me, but now it's sort of like, I'm like, wait, what's gonna serve the song? And if it's me, cool, I still love to sing. If it's not, I don't care. It's just, let's get paid.
Yeah. When it comes to writing music I know you've put out CDs for yourself, but when it comes to a project for someone else, do you find yourself putting in your own experiences, or are you able to sort of take the story that they give you and then, find inspiration from something else, or do you always like to put in yourself?
Well, I definitely become a chameleon. Like I said, like with Frankenstein, I knew that character.
Yeah.
I had her down. She was like in my blood. And then there's other things I've done, like for Sweet Summer Love. She said, I want something happy and closing credit song. And I said, do you want candy in it? Because it's about a candy thing. She said, yes. I said, okay. So I had Leah Booth, who's a great singer and was perfect for it. And so, I just kind of went into another character. I said, okay, we need something happy and light and, and that's not me singing. So, yeah.
So a very songwriter thing to ask someone is, what comes first, melody or lyrics?
I always loved what Sammy Kahn said. Sammy Kahn always said the phone call, right?
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, that's, with me, it's kind of funny. Things will come a little piecemeal type things. Like sometimes I might have an idea for the song, but once and it's always different. Sometimes, like with some of my Christmas songs, it just, off the top of my head, I go into Dave, I sing it, we put it down. Like right now, we've got one that's Dixieland. Like, that's okay. Yeah, but it's different. It's kind of different every time. So like I have a concept of what I want to do, and sometimes I fool around with the guitar, or sometimes it's just in my head, or sometimes I'll hear a track, like a Dua Lipa or something like that, and I go, oh no, that's the feel that it needs.
Yeah, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Are there any current artists that you're a big fan of as songwriters, singers?
I have to say, I always pretty much liked Billie Eilish, but especially doing that Barbie song, that was brilliant.
Weeping.
But the thing that's beautiful about that, like I told somebody, is I said, but that's really good, solid songwriting. That's not like 12 people putting a little piece of this or that. No, she just like I said, that's another one of those things. She could sit there and sing that with nothing behind her, and it would hold up.
Yeah.
So.
It's a beautiful song.
Yeah, that's beautiful, and I know it's more of a team effort, but I like some of Dua Lipa's stuff, and I definitely love Bruno Mars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They say, I heard people say that he's an artist's favorite artist, and I'm like, that must be cool. He's just really fun, huh?
Well, he's fun, but everything is so. I think the thing is, especially with me having seen so many years of music, you appreciate it when something is well done.
Yeah.
Like whether you like it or not,
Mhm.
just like with some of the rap and urban stuff. It's not me, but I can sit there and say, that was really brilliantly done. That was well done, you
Yeah.
know.
You told me you have how many credits in songs?
So right now, so I started making my calls in October 2020, and my first year I got 2 placements.
Mm-hmm.
And my second year I got 25, and this last year I got 30. And now so far 2024 I found out I got a song in the Rose Bowl, so I was excited
Yeah.
about that. And so that was a good way to start off 2021. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Is over your course of your career, is there a particular film or a particular song you really are proud of?
I'm definitely proud of that Frankenstein song.
Mhm.
I think that's one that I'm most proud of. But also Fall in Love This Christmas, which is my most licensed song. That's one I sort of trilled on a little bit earlier. I think that's really, you know, and I've had people try to buy the publishing and stuff on that, and I said, you know, that's my, I think that's the best one.
Mhm.
And what's interesting is that was kind of the first one that I did,
Mhm.
because they said, okay, I'm gonna do these Christmas songs. I go, well, what would be good? I said, I fall in love this Christmas. And I was walking up the stairs, and all of a sudden I'm like, I'm ready to fall in love this Christmas. I said, okay, that's it.
Yeah. Is there a particular song that maybe didn't get picked up for a project, but you then used it for something else?
Yeah.
And that
That's
happens all the time?
That, not all the time, but it does happen.
Mhm.
I would say 75-80% of the time, if I write something for a project,
Mhm.
I get it. And if I don't, then something else. It's like I said, the song that I just turned in today is a song called Love Will Always Rise.
Mhm.
And it's for a movie about the Holocaust and about this couple, the Bows. And it was such an incredible love story and stuff. And he was supposed to give me the director's cut. I was waiting for the director's cut. I didn't get it. And then last week I said, you know, I think this is really beautiful. I'm just gonna, so I just did the rough on the song. And then of course 2 days later he's like, I'm ready to hear the song now. I go, okay. So we rushed around, and like I said, I got it out to him today. So
Yeah.
we'll see. So that would be really nice. But if he doesn't take it,
Mhm.
I still feel it's strong enough to go somewhere else.
Yeah. Another thing for songwriting, do you tend to write it all in one go? Is it something you have to keep coming back to? Because sometimes songs come in minutes, right? And sometimes they could take, you know, you leave it for a month, right? How is it for you?
It happens all kinds of different ways. The thing that I find out is that I mostly, for me to really write well, I have to be a bum.
Mhm.
I have to get up, write in my journal, stay in my jammies, and then ideas start to come to me. But sometimes you'll start something, and like you say, it's sort of like, man, that's not quite it. Come back. But I find that, you know, you've got to sit down, give it the time, but like you said, sometimes things happen really fast, and sometimes they don't. But I find that I'm more likely to do something quickly if I have like, okay, here's the deadline. Okay, this needs to be here. This needs to be that. Then, you know, you rev it up.
Has there ever been a song you've written that maybe you pour a lot of yourself into that you don't want to share, that you want to keep it to yourself?
No.
Yeah, you always want to share it if they ask for it?
Go!
Yeah.
Fly, little sparrow.
It's almost like, is it like cathartic for you to release that?
Well, it is, but
Yeah.
I never feel like it's something that, you know, I just always feel like songs are like these things that, you know, God gives you. You know, I never take credit. I mean, I always say things come through you. You know, that's the way I feel about it. It's just like I have to stay quiet enough and put in the work, and the song gods, that will come through. So that's why it's interesting, because it is an act of faith to create anything. You know, whether it's a film or a painting or drawing, or, you know, it is building something. It's always an act of faith.
When you finish a project and say you're in between projects, are you still writing just for yourself? Is it every day?
You know, I haven't been writing quite as much the last couple of years because I've been so heavy into the admin. I've been so like build, projects. So now I'm actually starting to get more into, okay, you can take this day off and just write. You can do this. And so I'm going to be hopefully doing more creative stuff. And there again, you know, I keep the Christmas stuff coming, but more things that I can get where it's a custom song for a film, especially these things that are really deep and emotional. That's kind of where I would like to concentrate more.
Yeah. That Frankenstein film seems really interesting, but
Yeah.
is there a particular film you want to, you know, dive into? So you're like, I haven't done this type of genre. Can someone hire me for this? Like, would you want to do something? Is there something on your bucket list to do?
No, you know, that's a really good question. I don't, at this point, it's still, because it's still relatively when I say young, I mean, I started all over in October of 2020.
Yeah, it's
So
recent.
I'm still kind of figuring out what my lane is.
Mhm.
That's the whole thing, is I said to myself, if I could just get to this level here and then this level here, and then you just kind of want to keep steadily going up. So at this point, I don't have that, but that was a really good question.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
And that's a very recent thing for you. It's
Yeah.
since the pandemic, right?
Right,
So,
exactly. If the pandemic hadn't happened,
yeah.
none of this would have happened, because I never would have spent the money on the class. I would have just been tootling around with my head held down going, oh, I really wanted to do something with my music, but I guess I'm a failure. So it just gave me a whole new third win.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We were talking about earlier how technology gets in our way sometimes, but for you, do you think this shift in technology and how you present your projects and things like that have helped you?
Well, it's nice to be able to just shoot something over to somebody and have it be done.
Mhm.
That's a good thing.
Mhm.
But with the advent of AI coming in and stuff, I am very, very fearful for what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Like this one guy, he was on Facebook and he's like, well, I had AI generate a Adele track for me and a this track for me, and that track. I go, oh, this is scary, you know. And I tell people, you know, like this one composer was like, look at the lyric AI came up for, and I go, are you kidding me? You know, you composers, you guys, it's gonna come, you know, it's gonna replace you so quickly.
Yeah.
Once they can say, oh, I want a tension cue with cello and this and that, and I want 8 bars, go.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, no, this is not a good thing, to me.
Yeah.
In fact, I got a notice from a company that wanted to sample my voice, pay me $250, so then they were gonna take those samples and quote license them to people, like they needed oohs and ahs or whatever in my kind of sounding voice, and I go, no.
You're signing away your
Yeah,
identity
well,
as an artist a
But
little
it's not
bit.
just that, it's
Yeah.
just like, what's that doing to all the singers?
Mhm.
All the singers that are supposed to get hired,
Mhm.
you know, I'm just like,
Yeah.
hooked on them, no.
But oh yeah, there's a lot of movement against that, and especially in the arts, because it's, you know, there's a lot of human qualities that are put when you make your own music, right?
But, you know, it's coming, it's here,
Yeah.
it's just gonna be an interesting little ride, and there are some good things to it, no doubt, but as far as the artistry and the human factor, it's just a little scary.
And just another technical thing, when you work with your producer, do you like to put live instruments as well, or do you have, you know, what are they called, like synth?
Well, he's able to do a lot with what they call in the box, out of the computer.
Yeah.
So sometimes adding just 1 or 2 more live things,
Yeah.
like on this last song, we got that violinist on there, and that made a huge difference. On the Christmas Dixieland one, I have a real trumpet on that,
Yeah.
but the rest of the stuff is, yeah, so it's there again, it's a matter of cost. Back in the day, we used to go in, reel to reel, you had a live band, everybody recorded their parts, and that's what you did.
Mhm.
So now you're able to do a lot more, a lot less expensively, but, you know, it's just a different world.
Yeah. But it's really cool that you've been able to do this, and it's a new world for you too.
Yeah.
So I did want to finish up here and ask you if you have any advice for anyone who wants to do what you do, any songwriters, any singers that want to get into perhaps getting their music into films.
Well, I think the most important thing that you can do is you have to keep going, whatever and however it is. Like, even if it's just sort of like, okay, I'm a mom, I've got kids, I've got like maybe 30 minutes a day that I can even do anything. It's important you take that 30 minutes and you play or do whatever you need to do. And so much of it is, there's 2 pieces of advice that I think are always really good that I got from some of the people I met this last year. And one is, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. So things aren't gonna happen fast, but if you keep steadily going at it, you will make progress. And the second one is, only the yeses count. Because for me, I'm throwing things out like Johnny Appleseed. I have so many options, so many leads, so many irons in the fire. But I know only a few are gonna end up being mine. So the more I put out there, the more that I have as a possibility. And the main thing is, for anything, is being heard. Because you see, that's the thing, is it's too easy for people to like, oh, I'll go into a library, or I'll do this, or I'll do that, and then you never know what happens. To me, I felt I did it this way because if I can directly talk to the people making the decisions and not the gatekeepers, I have a better chance. Because part of me was going, look, come on, I just turned 69 years old, right? I don't have any big credentials. Nobody's gonna look at me. They're all gonna say, "Oh, isn't she nice, the little old thing," you know? And so I just go, no. But if I go in there and I say, "Look, I got the song that's gonna make your movie," and I do,
Yeah.
and then I get it, that's where the power is. So you can't be afraid. I guess this is the best piece of advice: is you can't be afraid to take matters into your own hands. And whatever you do, however you do it, just keep one foot going in front of the other.
Wow, it's amazing. Yeah. Okay, speaking of, and you have been able to work, so that's
Oh, yeah.
really incredible because sometimes people don't get their first gig, you know, with this. So would you like to plug any of your projects that are coming out? You mentioned one already.
Well, you know, let's see. So Christmas movies coming out this year. There's one called Christmas Slasher.
Oh wow.
It's kind of a tongue-in-cheek '80s type. It's almost a spoof. I mean,
Yeah.
it's about this not Rudolph. It's this reindeer that goes rogue, starts killing people. You know. So I've got a couple songs in
Yeah.
that. And then there's another one called Ginger Snap Christmas that's coming out. And then Holiday for Hire was supposed to come out this year, but it didn't. So that'll come out next year. Frankenstein movie, of course. And then there was one more, I can't remember, one more Christmas movie, but definitely we want to watch for Frankenstein.
Yeah.
It's called Frankenstein Legacy, so that's the big one.
Yeah. So we're gonna look out for those, and looks like you've created the soundtrack to a lot of our Christmases, right? So it was such a pleasure to have you. And
Thank you.
yeah, thank you for joining us. Especially like since we talked about it today, we're like, please come, let's come. And thank you to everyone who's been watching. We really enjoyed talking to all these artists, and we'll have more soon. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.
Stay.